Welcome to Bragging Rights, episode 23. I don't know why I'm laughing. I'm just getting stared at from all angles. No Craig today. For those that are watching, you'll have noticed a massive empty space over there. Yeah. How do you feel about that, Josh? On your own?
Yeah, it's daunting, isn't it?
Is it?
I don't know. He's done one without me in the past when I went on holiday.
For you. Daunting for us. There's no one to care but you.
I don't think he does care.
Not true.
I feel like we try our best to yin and yang, but it doesn't really work.
No.
But what I'll do is I'll play both roles, so I'll swap seats in between.
Well, you can't because you're not in the camera if you sit in that seat. You're not
Right,
on the
I'm
camera, sorry. Ah, is that a way to do? Tell him he's not on camera. Get rid of him. There's so many old fans just got real excited then when you put your mic down and pretended to get up.
Most views ever.
You just cheered every old fan up after a terrible weekend.
Yeah, fair one, fair.
So yeah.
Sorry, I was getting distracted. There's a guy walking past with a Domino's in his hand. I was like, oh, I want that.
He's got a pizza as well.
Idiot.
That's all right, dad joke guy.
Oh, God. Can't you tell which
I
one
am
of
the
us has
only
got
dad on the
kids?
panel
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah, the only dad here.
So a bit less chaotic this week to start.
Yeah.
Yeah? Is that... I think that's probably sensible.
After last week, yes.
Yeah. Although we got quite a lot of views last week.
Maybe people like the chaos.
Maybe they did. I looked at all the... You get all the data from the videos, and the amount of people that watched that and carried on watching was quite impressive, I thought. Like,
Fair
I
play
expected to see a
anyone
lot
who
of,
stuck
like,
with us.
watched for 30 seconds and then turned off kind of things. But no, people watched it.
Good.
Bring it back next week, I think, when Craig's back.
Go even more crazy.
Yeah.
Why not?
Anyway, you get to start on your own, mate. So
yeah.
Oh no, wait there. Dean's tapping the thing there. So just to remind people that we're sponsored by CommScaf and we are hosted by Tribal.
One of the calmest it's ever been at Tribal, really. Not that it's busy sometimes when we record, when it's closed right now. But sometimes there's people cleaning and doing stuff. This is one of the...
There's
real,
normally a bit of music on as well in the background.
it's
but-
real subdued, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally Amy's like running around cleaning stuff, but yeah, she just sat on her ass over there doing sod all. I hope I'm not dropping you in it with the boss, by the way, but she was just sat over there, literally doing nothing.
Cleaning. I can see her cleaning.
Oh yeah, she's cleaning. Yeah, there you go. She's cleaning. Don't sack her. Go on then.
So we will start because we won. I know that fly. I was
Yeah,
just
there's a
chasing it as
fly
well.
all over, isn't there?
I have conferred with Craig, so hopefully the notes come from both of us, and I'm not going to say anything that he massively disagrees with, but we'll see.
Do we care?
Well, I don't know, he might comment. I've noticed he started commenting on the videos now. So
He don't watch and he don't listen, so you can say what you want.
Fair play. Okay then. So, good win again, obviously. Any win is always good. Always happy to get another one on the board. A really significant win, really, for a lot of reasons. Quite a few stats to throw out this week, just because of what it meant for the team and where it means for us in the season. But obviously it kept us up at the top of the league, and it kept us, until Wigan played, 6 points clear, and then kept us 4 points clear when Wigan managed to sneak a win Castleford the following day. So,
Sneaker win as well.
yeah, different story that one, but obviously really good. But it means that we're 15 wins out of 16 games to start this season. That is the best ever for Hull KR. So since the inception of the club, there's never been a better opening to a season by any team in any league, any division, any year. So pretty significant in what we've done there. And obviously all credit to the players and the staff and everyone for what they've done. People have been saying for weeks, I think you guys have said a couple of times as well, like, we are playing well, we are looking quite impressive at times. It's just another stat to back that up. And I was pretty pleased to get over that hurdle. You know, we had the hurdle of can we win in a big game. We got the Challenge Cup won, despite, you know, the game itself and very close circumstances. If we'd have faltered here and maybe dropped this game, it would always be a bit of a question mark of when will that happen again, because it's no easy feat to only drop one game.
After first half as well, you've been forgiven for maybe thinking that, but it was I hate to say it, standard Rovers in the second half as well, wasn't it? Just I think you had a contest, which is something you hadn't had since the final. I think you've had two two pretty much walkovers the last couple of weeks, and this one was you had a fight on your hand, especially in that first half, and but you saw it out.
It leads me in quite nicely to a point about Wakey. Wakey have been a bit of a surprise package this year for some. Others sort of looked at the way they played last year before they came back into Super League. They looked at the recruitment process, and a few people touted that they could be playoff contenders. They are outside the playoffs right now. They've obviously had some really close games. They've had some great wins, like beating Wigan last week. They've had some not so great games. But the stats show that actually, up until they played us on Friday night, of the 7 losses they've had, 5 of them have been by 4 or less points.
Yep.
Which you think that is one try, not even converted. That is one unconverted try in 5 of those games that completely transforms their season. And look, it is a full season of games, and there's different balances that go with that. But they have been so close to being up into like top 4 position. And I think Wakey have surprised a lot of people. I know at the start of the season we played them and it was a really close game and we barely beat them. And I tried to argue back then that we're discrediting them. We sort of had Rovers that were warming into the season, and we were saying that Wakey had just bounced back up. And I don't mean you specifically, I'm talking in general. There was a bit of a, look, if Rovers are going to repeat what we did last year and challenge for cups again and be up there at top of the league at the business end of the season, they've got to put teams like this to bed.
Yeah.
And it kind of proved 2 things. We know that Rovers have gone on from strength to strength, but it also shows that Wakey are having a very consistent season. If you're losing 5 of your 7 games that you've dropped up until, again, the game against us this weekend, it shows just how good they've been and how that first season bouncing back from the Championship, if they can build into next year, that no matter what happens this year, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with next year.
Let's be honest, there was building for this season last season as well. They knew they was going to get the gradings to get it back into Super League this season, so they could put them building blocks in place, and I think they did that. And I wouldn't say I'm surprised how they're going. Maybe surprised they went and beat Wigan last week. I wasn't expecting a result like that, but I'm not surprised at the consistency in their performance. It's a Darryl Powell team as well at the end of the day. He knows how to get a team going. And it's more so credit to you guys as well that you was able to put that on them in what I thought was going to be... I don't think I said it'd be a hiccup. I thought you'd struggle a bit more than you have done in the last few weeks. And it was credit to you guys for putting them to bed like you did in the end.
There's a few points around that. They started really well, and I felt, and I noted this, that the atmosphere around Craven Park was a bit subdued, particularly for the opening 20 minutes. I think we kind of, I say we, I mean kind of as a collective, as the fans, was probably a bit shocked we was in as much of an arm wrestle as we was. Because that's what it was.
Was it a shock to you?
No, I say I've praised Wakefield quite a bit this year, and I did feel it would be quite a tight game. None of us could predict the second half the way it went. I know Rovers have been playing really well, and I'm always caught in 2 minds between putting down a big prediction result and saying, come on, this is Rovers the way we're playing. We are 20 points better than this team we're playing. And also going, well, no, looking on previous form and looking at, like I've said, how close their losses have been, and even despite the injuries that Wakefield have got, they are a very competitive and a well-drilled team. So I wasn't as shocked. I was disappointed. I do get disappointed, particularly with the East Stand sometimes, that a little bit fickle, can be a bit quiet when we go try behind or we get a little bit into close battles. But I did think it was very evenly matched, and I think after 20 minutes we did start to pull away a bit. I know they did get the 2 tries, and we did, but it did feel as though we was starting to get the better of them. It was probably the best example of something I started saying last year on the podcast when I first joined that hasn't really come into fruition very often this year, which is how patient of a team we are. What's been happening this year is we have been far and away the better team in the majority of games we've played, and we've blown teams away because we're very quick, we're very fit, we're very well drilled, and we've been attacking so strongly with such good players that have got a good strike rate that we are getting early tries. And that's where Willie Pete had said Rovers like to score first, like to score early. We have been doing that. My point coming to fruition this week, we know how to stay in the game. We know how to not let games get run away from us. We know how to feel them out and figure out what's going on. And then it might not happen in the first half. It might happen late in the second. But in this particular example, we started to get the better of them late in the first half, and then we blew them away in the second half. And I think there's also an element to that I think is worth sort of shouting out. I thought Liam Hood, the hooker for Wakefield, was phenomenal. I thought that he was running the show really well. I think that Mason Leno had a little bit of a game to forget, a few errors, so that dropped them out a bit. And when Truman went off in the second half, who had been having a good game for them, that's when it wasn't the reason why we opened up, but it took a bit away of what they had.
It ruined their attack, I think. I think Leno, I was messaging it to you guys during the game, he was having a mare, and as soon as Truman went off, I felt that was going to be the game. I didn't think they was going to be able to trouble you in attack. They didn't really in that second half, did they? You suffocated them. I got down. I have got, though, there was a penalty very early on. You started the second half with a couple of errors, gifted them a bit of field position, and then there was a penalty Wakefield give away. I don't know who it was. It was from Marker. And I felt that was a real game changer, or a changer at that point in the game. I don't think it was a penalty. I think it was square. I think it was a harsh penalty. You then got the penalty, rolled down the field, and then it was just, they didn't have a chance after that.
I think that's fair. If it's the one,
I'm not saying,
if I'm thinking the one you're referring to, I agree. I think it was a very tough penalty to give away. This will sound like every Rovers fan that stands in these stands and shouts, but the first half was dominated by, in my opinion, Wakefield often being offside and not being called for it. And that was because their game plan was to try and smother our attack. And the only times they fell out of luck with that was when we did get penalties in our favour, or when they started to tire. And our second try that Burgess scored was a prime example of that. Every single player to the right of the referee on the defensive line for Wakefield was offside. And rather than being able to rush up and meet our fantastic quick attack, it left gaps. And it meant we spread the ball quickly. And their game plan only worked so far and then fell apart in that. And I think that penalty early in the second half, we shouldn't say this, it was almost a bit of an evener of a, you've got away with a lot in the first half, but I'm going to be a bit stricter in this one. And we see that all the time, don't we? We see refs come out and we always have the joke, are they trying to even the penalty count up?
Leveling it up.
A couple of things I'm really pleased about from the game as well, before I'll throw some more stats and some play things in. Despite the 2 tries, it was only 2 tries and in the first half. So it was a 0 in the second half. It was only 10 points conceded. So we're still keeping that incredible run of defensive form up. Say again, if you can hold teams in this league to 2 tries or less, you've got a hell of a good chance of winning games in this league. And then more importantly, when you can attack like we can, which we must boast the best attack in the league right now. Wigan are not flying at the minute, and they've got injuries. I'm not saying individually, you can't count out people like Jai Field, right? But the way we're playing as a unit and the way we attack, we must boast the best attack. And probably one of the most fun ones to watch.
Well, the stats show that, don't they?
I believe they do. So that was really pleasing. Couple of stats that have got a few caveats to them. So we are now, before we play on Sunday and play Leeds, we will hit the 12-month mark, wherein within that 12 months, we have only lost to one other team in the Super League, which is Wigan. And we have lost them 3 times, so I'm not trying to claim anything. We have 31 out of 34, 31 wins out of 34 games in the last 12 months. One of them, semi-final against Wigan last year, Challenge Cup. One of them, a grand final, of course. And then the final game being Wigan this year. There is a big question mark for me over the Wigan game this year. We was in that form at the beginning of the year where we hadn't really kicked on like we are now. So I think we are a different team. We also didn't play Mikey Lewis. So I think, it's worth saying.
Did Lewis not play in that game?
No. Injured. Very, very, very often forgotten that Mikey didn't play. Just had confirmation from Susan as well, just to back up the attacking point I made a minute ago, that we have the most points scored and the least points conceded in the league. So backs up the defence and the attack point, which is good to know. The actual last loss we had, or will do when it becomes a year, come Sunday, I think I've got my dates correct, or Saturday coming up, was against Catalan at home, 15-14 golden point loss. A game that at the time many of us went on to rue at the business end of the season because it was one of our worst performances last year. We was in a rich vein of form at the time, and we ended up losing golden point at home, which was our fortress.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was a bit of a strange game. But yeah, really good to see. I know I did pre-warn you, I'd give you a bit of banter beforehand, but just coincides with us coming up to this year point with a fantastic run. 31 wins out of 34. Every other team we've beat haven't been beaten by another team apart from Wigan. will coincide with you boys a year not winning at home.
We're not quite a year just
Not
yet,
quite.
Joshua.
But it's coming up, which, all banter aside on that, really goes to show the different levels of where the two clubs are at, I think. If you're looking at it from a fair and even comparison.
But that can't be any surprise to anyone.
No, it shouldn't be.
Like-
But it's another stat backing up what's going on, isn't it?
Again, but it's not a surprise to anyone. We're two clubs in two totally different places at the minute.
Fair play. So, one negative, but I'll throw out some stats and hopefully finish up and I don't run over too much. Mikey's yellow card.
Fair.
Completely fair decision.
He knew it as well, didn't he?
Yeah, and the positive on that is I really liked the mature way that he dealt with that. I thought there was two incidents in the game that back up, or two incidents in the game that talk about inconsistency in the game for me. The first one being Mikey's yellow card. He did it, he knew he'd done it, he spoke to the referee calmly, he accepted it, he ran off.
Yep.
We played amazingly for the 10 minutes without him, didn't concede. We even scored while he was off, which I thought was great to see. You know, something teams sometimes struggle with, sometimes don't.
Yes, agree. It's easy to do that when the game's won.
Of course it is. But still, it's worth shouting out.
Definitely, yep.
It's a complete opposite to what we saw, which I'm going to mention in the news, so we will dig into it, about the incident in the Wigan and Castleford game. Very similar incident that wasn't penalised.
It's all right. They've had a public apology. It's all sorted now.
So we'll get to that. But I thought that was good. So then just some shout-outs, I should say, that are really good. Mikey, 500 point for the club, was hit during the game. Fantastic achievement. Considering as well that he doesn't always kick for us, and he's not actually our first choice kicker. You look at the stats as well, he has kicked a lot, but this season he is second in tries scored with 15, only behind 18, which is behind Jai Field, which is 2 more than number 3, which is Tom Davies, who has 13 tries. He is second in assists as well, you know, which we know shouldn't help for the points tally, but I think it's just a great achievement, so well done to Mikey on that. Big shout out to Sam Luckley. I thought he was unplayable when he came on. I thought they were struggling to put him down.
I hate that guy's in a red and white shirt. I love him.
He's phenomenal, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's just a decent bloke as well.
Yeah.
To boot.
I said that video that they showed of him giving a pep talk to your team before the Challenge Cup final, didn't he? I said I'd run into a burning building for that guy.
Yeah,
like the way that after listening to that team talk that he gave, yeah, 100%. If we could get him in black and white, I'd snap you.
I mean, there's no wonder after that amazing speech, Jared gives him a big kiss on the forehead. Yeah,
I didn't notice that.
You can't figure out who he is at first on the video, but then you realise this is a big guy. There's a bit of a beard. You can tell he's probably a Kiwi, and you're like, I think he was a bit shorter than that. And anyways, he gets a big kiss on the forehead afterwards. It's such a great speech. But yeah, to finish off, 2 more people then. Going to shout out Dino. I think Dino deserves a shout. I actually was speaking to friend.
I know there was chanting my name in the stand on Friday.
Friend of us, maybe won't quite go as far and say friend of the pod because I'm not sure he listens, but James Abel, who I believe his dad's got a question, who is a listener in the question sections later on, was making a point to us lads not so long ago that he struggles to see the hyper on Dean Hadley. He struggles to see anything more than a bit of sort of hard work and a bit of grit. And I think a few of us in our friendship group that played rugby growing up went to great pains to tell him why he was wrong.
Yeah.
On Friday night, the man was 46 tackles, 9 of them from marker, which is a good stat. People graft him from after already making a tackle. A tackle bust to his name as well, made over 100 metres, which is good. You know, he usually takes very hard yards for us. So the metres made is not always a great stat to reflect the work he does. But to get over 100 in the position he plays, this centre battle he goes in, by centre of the field, I mean, was good to see. And that's backing it up after he had 141 metres on 17 carries last week against Cass, which, alright, bit of an easier opponent for most of the game, but still backing up week after week. And then final one, I would be remiss not to shout him out, but we have to shout out Tom Davies for his hat-trick. Didn't actually get man of the match out of the game. Unusual not to get it, but he did bomb a 4th try.
I've been to a game where someone scored 4 tries and didn't get the man of the match.
So it does happen. Yeah. He, as I said earlier, he's now at 13 tries in the Super Leagues, which is only 3rd in the league. And really, Mikey's a bit of an anomaly. He was last year. He scores so many tries for a half-back, it's a bit ridiculous. And Jai Field up at the top, who is just a bit of a freak of nature. And so Tom Davies at 13 is 3rd, and 13 is in the league.
How many's Jai got?
Jai's got 18.
And I thought he'd had a quiet season.
I know.
in Craig's words, he's just fast. That's all he's got. He's just fast.
Yeah, I did note that with.
I disagree with that, by the way. Like, I think there's a lot more to Jai Field than that.
I think defensively he's a good fullback. We're not here to talk about Jai. He's a good fullback.
Yeah.
Maybe not top 4 in the league, but he's good.
Craig hates him.
His vision is great. He's very quick, but yeah, Craig doesn't like you for that. Was looking into this after looking at Davies' stats to see what he was doing. He's an absolute workhorse. So he's had 277 carries, which is third in the league. Sits behind Martin for you.
Yep.
And I can't remember number 1. I should have noted it. Oh no, I can actually. I've written it. LM, Liam Marshall, and who have I just said for you?
Lewis Martin.
Lewis Martin
Yep.
and Liam Marshall.
Right.
Easy for you to say. Are the top 2. But Davies actually has the best average per game. He's just shy of 20 at 19.79, and no other player is above 19. So when we talk about England's squad today has been announced, only a training squad. We're not going into detail about that today because it is only a training squad. When we talk about omissions and people are talking about wingers that have not been included, don't look any further than the stats and see 2 people that have been omitted in Martin for you and Davies for us that are leading the league in tries in the top 5 and in average game per game.
But Liam Marshall's got more metres than anyone else in the league, so obviously that's why he's in.
Obviously, so and he is a great player. But yeah, so to wrap up then, obviously really pleasing. So many great stats and a bit of a historical momentous thing for us. It's that type of could have been potential bogey game because they've come off the back of a Wigan win. They are a good side. We don't know if that next loss is going to come for us or where it's going to come from. But our entire focus now is keeping on the form we're in, keeping on this just amazing kind of play. I mean, what's a cup hangover? Because I don't think we know what one is, right?
Yeah, I know.
That's ridiculous. Really, we've got to keep ourselves in position that we need to understand that our next loss, we need to be focused on our next loss, could only be Wigan. Because that's the only people really challenging us. And that's not an arrogant statement. That's the way we're playing and the form we're in. We can't afford to slip up along the way. So to not do it and to win in such a good style was such an amazing second half, sort of blew away any nerves from the first half and any cobwebs that we thought might be there. So yeah, incredibly pleased, incredibly happy. Bring on the next game.
I do have I know that she's wafting her hands around over there. The question I've got is, we're 16 games in, still 11 to go. Do you think you can keep this up for another 11 games and then the playoffs?
We've got a question on that.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll talk about it later then.
Can save it for the questions.
We'll save it for the questions.
Go on now if you want.
Yeah. No, we'll save it for the questions.
It's up to you.
Go on.
If we move on
You've
to
been asked
FC,
it.
I can start talking. You two have done all the talking.
Honest answer, I don't know. Right? None of us know. The only thing I will say is, I say this most weeks, broken record as always, I don't think there's a better strength and conditioning team in the league than us. I think we're proving that. I think that our fitness, our injury avoidance, we've been a bit unlucky this year in a couple of places, but it's still nothing compared to some teams. And there's always luck involved with that. But when you do it over multiple seasons, it proves something's going right in your S&C department. We didn't finish last year lacklustre, and we didn't finish last year sluggish. We just came up against a Wigan team in a grand final that were better than us. We also had to in a very tough game, beat a Warrington team in a semi-final that were a very good team last year. They're a shade of what they are they are a shade of what they were. This year they are a shade of what they were last year, as I should say, for Warrington. We don't know is the honest answer. My belief is, yes, I do, because we're rotating well. We are putting new blood in. We've had injuries and people coming back. Reece Martin, someone we'll touch about on later in the preview for our game coming up this week, who didn't look out of place and looked like he was fully fit coming back in. And now we've got people resting. JWH is still resting. Budgie's just had 2 games out, right? Mickey Mack's still to come back again.
That's not resting.
Batchelor's out for 2 to 6 weeks, depending on this throat injury. All right, it's an injury to recover from, but it's still rest from people that put hard yards in. We've had players like Noah Booth come in, who's only played 4 games for us this year in the Super League. If we need a winger that can play Super League level and finish tries and tackle well, we've got one if we need one come business end of the season. So I'm not worried about it. Do I think that maybe come towards round 22, 23, we might want to think a bit more sensibly about resting players, especially if the league looks like wrapped up or we're closer to wrapping it up? Maybe so. But right now, we show no signs of slowing down. We always talk about Wigan peaking for the end of the year. Don't forget how sluggish we was for the opening 5-6 rounds.
True.
So I'm not worried is the answer in a nutshell.
Okay, a simple yes or no would have sufficed.
On to Craig's notes now.
On that note, you press the sponsor button.
This week's episode is sponsored by CommScaf.
Commercial Scaffolding, or CommScaf, are a Hull-based company formed over 30 years ago.
They offer a safe and professional scaffolding service nationwide.
For services and enquiries, you can go to commscaf.co.uk or call 01482 782 181.
Right, after the longest 28 seconds in the world, let's talk about LFC.
Yep. Let's do it. You can put your mic down.
I've got my head in my hands for anyone that's not watching. I don't know what. We left that game and I didn't know what to think of that game. I genuinely was just like bamboozled as to. It's a good word, that, I think. Just everything that happened. I don't get it, is what I'm trying to say. I just don't understand that game and the Cass game, and to be fair, the Salford game to a point. I don't understand what I'm watching now, because look at the start of the season and where we were at then, and I know we've got some reasons for it in terms of injuries, but yeah, I don't get it.
For me, there's a couple of things, and there was a word that summed it up, and here's another one for you, Barry. Dan Tomlinson said it on his Hull Live write-up. Hull was sloppy, very sloppy. When you got the likes of Barron and Knight, unforced errors during the game, it sort of tells you what sort of evening's going to be coming up. And yeah, we see errors from other players, but when them two are making it, who've been pretty consistent all season for us, I'm thinking tonight might not be the night. And for me, I think we've gone very flat. And I think it's because we've got no plan B. We've organisation shot, no price means no pace, unfortunately. And I'm struggling.
Quick yes or no then. I watched it yesterday, watched it back. I think you only turned up for a quarter of the game.
I'd say 10 minutes.
Fair, unfair was going to be my question, but you said
Fair.
10 minutes.
Yeah, fair.
Last 10 minutes of the first half.
I think effort-wise, unfair, but in terms of applying that effort in the right way, yeah, very fair. I think one thing's really apparent, and Carty mentioned it in his post-match interview, is that team keep fighting. And I truly believe that they do, and it is a massive change from what we're used to from the past couple of seasons. It is what we asked for, and we are getting what we asked for in that sort of department in terms of effort.
One thing sums it up: we defended 30 plus tackles on our own line in a row, so that shows the effort and desire is still there. We are just struggling, like I said, with a plan B. The organisation Caesar's getting taken out of the game because opposition teams know everything's going to have to go through him. Exactly.
This will get me slated by the FC fans.
Oh, do it. I can't wait.
I don't disagree. You should look at that in a positive light. You did defend that many sets on your own line. Warrington should have been scoring there. They were sloppy themselves in that period.
Yes.
The way when I said then that I think you performed for a quarter of the game, I specifically meant the second 20 of the first half, really. Right? Maybe a bit into the second half, but regardless, my point being, when you had that, when they were camped on your line and there was attacking and there was going and going, there was some great play from you guys, some great defence, there was some good hands in to stop the ball going out wide, which are great penalties to give away. Yes, there's a repeat set, but they stopped tries, but there was also sort of unforced errors from Warrington who didn't seem to be clicking as well. You know, they seemed to be great broken play and great making something out of nothing. The moment they had a structure in front of them, they wasn't putting you to bed.
I don't think they was great either overall.
Oh, no.
I thought it was. I don't know what it was like from a neutral point of view, but for me it was two very mediocre teams playing against each other on Saturday.
I can answer that in a point I was going to ask you both, and it's going to be about where you are in the league and where you are as come the end of the season. We've gone over multiple times that you two felt if you could be 8th and looking towards the playoffs, that'd be acceptable. the league has shifted, I feel, at this moment in time. People are really starting to cement their positions. People know Rovers are a top team. They know Wigan are there or thereabouts. People are seeing now that Lee have got enough to have some bad games but hanging around the top 4.
Yep.
Leeds are making that push saying don't count us out. Saints are now saying we've been a bit dire but we're getting there. Your top 5 to 6 are starting to cement themselves. What I watched at weekend in your game was 2 teams that are nowhere near the pace of the playoffs, and if you get in, you're asking nothing short of a miracle to beat one of the teams above you, because
On that performance,
the
neither of them teams
performances
have beaten them.
wasn't very good. Now, on a positive note for you guys, you have given performances this year that would beat some of them teams, right? You have done that. But it's night and day the way you played this week compared to when you played Warrington in the last time you was there.
So, my response to that is yes. As we are now, I agree. And Dean's got it written in his notes. We've found our place for where we
Have
are now.
Found our place. That's right.
I think you've got to factor in the way that we play with a full strength team is very different to the way we're playing now, and a lot of that is down to the fact that we'll get onto him again. Our replacement for Price at fullback is Rapiner, and our replacement for Asiata at 13 is, well, we ain't got one. So come playoffs, assuming that we make that and assuming that they're both back fit, I would like to think that we will play a very different game to the way we're playing now. And you also got to factor in that we're currently playing 2 centres at second row still. The stats confirm that in terms of meterage out on the edge from those 2, we're not really getting a lot, although Zach did get a fair few at 84 metres, I think, this
around
week.
the 80 mark, yeah.
So he's doing all right, but let's face it, if you slot him in at centre instead of having Briscoe there and then slot Cartwright in at second row, you've got a more solid defence and you've got a much better attack as well. So
Is that realistic, though? You need to get to the playoff position with the team you've got right now. I'm not
I did say
disputing
that. I said if we get to the playoffs. I did say that. If we get there.
We'll have a VT check
I think
on
you
that
said
one.
assuming we get to the playoffs, I think so.
Yeah, either
but
or.
even with them players playing out of position, it's starting to not just take its toll, them playing out of position and getting picked off by oppositions who know how to attack against them. It's starting to tell with our fitness as well. We haven't got the players to... Well, I think we have actually, but we're not using the benefits of our full squad. Like the likes of Moy, players like that, who could come in and just do a game to take a bit of pressure off. Charles starting maybe one week, resting Burrow, giving him a bit of breather. We was told we was one of the fittest teams in the league at the beginning of the season, our pre-season, or numbers, all this and that. And maybe we was then, but now these players are absolutely exhausted. Zach and Ed and Briscoe, probably all these players playing at opposition, it's probably taking the toll on them, and it's showing for me the lack of speed at the play of the ball, the lack of by that I mean players getting up and playing the ball. We are so slow. I'd love to see our timing on players getting up, playing the ball, the distribution from
Love it if
dummy
that
half.
was just a standard stat that you could see
Yeah,
as well.
it'd be
Like
good,
average play the ball time.
Yeah,
in seconds.
the time it takes to get from dummy half to an half back or a forward, whoever's taking the ball up. Burrows looks absolutely shattered, and that's starting to really hamper us now. The players just look absolutely knackered.
I mean, you can tell he's shattered. He had 2 runs from dummy half. That's it. In a full game, 2 runs from dummy half.
Yeah.
I think you're definitely right. There did seem to be a sluggishness to your team. It did look fatigued, and some of your stats back it up. I mean, SASA, all right, just crept over the 100 mark, so he did all right. Wasn't particularly his best, I wouldn't have said. You know, he was good, not great. He was like a standard prop. I mean, Knight, for me, had a game to forget for. He only made 59 metres, which is nothing.
Yeah,
He had a struggle, and he also, you know, he had a knock-on, which... All right, I'm willing to forgive that. There's 3 players in the tackle. I don't think there was anything nefarious about it. I think he did lose it, but then to give a penalty away for dissent, you know, there's frustration in that. But that's a real poor penalty to give away, and that comes out of frustration as well, and tiredness and fatigue and things not going your way. And you did look like a team that was really tired. And this was kind of my final point I wanted to make on it. when I think about your team looking tired, there have been players this year that have stood out for you almost consistently. I think that Cust, we've agreed at times, has had quite a good season for you despite everything that's going on. I was disappointed in a couple of things for him, and I was disappointed in Hardacre as well, who's been getting heaps of praise recently. Powell, the man who we went on about for not taking a run from dummy half, finally takes a run for dummy half the first time this season to make positive metres and runs over Hardacre and Cust.
Rapana first, Hardacre, then Cust.
We're going to get onto Rapana bashing in a minute because that's the favourite part of the pod. But them two are two I wouldn't expect it from, right? Now, this circumstance, I can forgive that and things happen. Okay, strange coincidence of it being Powell. The next one, Cust missed the tackle when Dufty goes through to the next try. Not what I'd expect from Cust. And if you're looking for moments that are reflective of the entire team's performance in the game, they showed what your team was doing for me.
So that takes us on to the right edge. It's been a concern, especially for me, all season. I've been saying something's not right on that edge. Yes, we've had Briscoe defending at centre most of the season there, Hardacre at right second row, positions are not natural too. And I was talking to James on the way back, and you have Hardacre at centre, and he knows how to hold that position just that little bit longer than Briscoe does. That little need. Oh, I've just got to jump in here. You'll know it. You played centre. It is. They do say it's the most difficult position on the pitch to defend. So they say, but it's any type of shape, attacking shape that teams are throwing at us. It's crumbling. You saw it. Two moves that Warrington put on. They scored from both of them down our right edge. The first and the fourth try. The second and the fourth try on Saturday. It was shape. It was fast shape. It wasn't now special. It was just a decent attacking move. We didn't know what to do, and things have. He has to change it now. I don't know what he's going to do there. There is options. You could put Hardacre centre, Fash at second row, pull Briscoe out, Custanan, Charles in that half-back position on that side. I don't know. But what's there now is not working, especially defensive. And it's Saints on. If it stays like that on Saturday, Saints will have a field day. Absolute field day down there. You okay?
You seem real sad.
He does, doesn't he?
I was just trying to find a question that we had sent in because it does, and I know we've got questions for listeners' lounge later, but there is something that someone sent in, James Wilson, and it's basically I think he's had a few stinkers, but I find it really cringe when our fans single out players in reference to Rapana. The team wins together and loses together rather than digging a player out who should be getting behind him. Now, whilst I do agree with that, there's only so much that we can take as fans, and that's why now I want to move on to Rapana, because
I'm shutting up because I'll sound like a broken record.
This guy came across, former New Zealand international, NRL player with however many appearances in the NRL, however many tries, and fair bit of hype, I would say. Not massive hype, but a decent amount of hype, I'd say. The guy, I looked at Rapana and I was like, ooh, this guy could be our Kenny Dowell.
That's what I thought.
Coming over with a bit of age, bit of experience behind him, bringing the experience to the team and putting in some solid performances. And I don't think I've been more underwhelmed by any overseas signing, bar none.
Skid's a really fair comparison. Very similar player, very similar sort of hype around the player. Skid had quite a poor opening season for us.
As bad as this?
Not like this,
No.
but it goes quite long forgotten because of what he did for the club since. Becomes such a talisman. He's still with us in a coaching capacity and just who he is for us and how far he took us, and he's still taking the team. So it's not over for Rapana. It doesn't have to be. I was doing a bit of reflection on this because I knew Rapana would come up, and I know I joked a bit early in the group because he had, if there's games to forget, these games to erase completely from your memory forever. That was one for Rapana. Multiple knock-ons, multiple errors, just not in the game. It's not fair to single out players, even when they are particularly bad at times, and they really are a negative sort of impact on the game. It is on the entire team. You can coast with players, and you can cope with players having multiple mistakes in a game. You rally around as a team. I think you're a victim of your injuries, players out of position, and you don't set up, when you're playing like the way you did this weekend, you don't set up the right groundwork for players like that to get away with errors or to shine. When you're not defending well because your right edge is weak and they're making extra metres, when you are conceding more tries than you'd like, when players are out of position and they're playing extra minutes and they're tired, the opposing team gets further up the field, the pressure's on you more, you feel more inclined to do more. Players like Rapana know that they've got a gold star against their name and they're expected to deliver higher. But it's on the team as well, so it's not just on him.
It is on the team, and it's not just on him. But their first try summed his season and him up for me, what he's given us this season. And that missed tackle from Marker, so the young winger could shoot down the field and score that first try. That's not him trying to do extra work. That's not him covering anyone else on the pitch, or that's not a result of our injuries. That's just poor. That is just basic rugby league. Working from square marker, tackling a kid that's a lot smaller than you shouldn't be shrugging you off.
It's poor that he was at marker.
No, because it was after the kick chase. So he'd gone for the kick chase into the corner.
But enough men are there, he peels back, or the winger drops for him. And that's inexperience and players out of position. Because there was no one near the guy when he broke.
So the reason what I wanted to get onto, the reason why it frustrates me so much is one thing I stand by that I've said earlier in the season. Put the ball in this guy's hand and tell him, keep hold of the bloody ball and play rugby. Don't try and be an halfback. Don't try and, be a Jake Connor or even a Will Price. 19 carries, 124 metres. And I'm looking at this game and thinking, this guy played crap because he had 3 errors and 4 missed tackles. And he did. This is what frustrates me so much about him is if you just, I don't know, put him at centre. Do to him what you guys did to Hiku. Stop trying to play him at fullback and put him at centre and say, right, keep the ball in your hand and run it. Because that's where he fits. I think he reads the game well in defence if he's in that position. I think he attacks well in that position. Do I think he's the be-all and end-all? Do I think he should get the 4 shirt next year off of Chamberlain? Probably not. I'd like us to sign a new centre. But he is 100%, definitely not a 6. I know we've played him there before this season. And he is 100% not a fullback.
He needs to be taken out the firing line. Whether that's a rest out the 17, just for his own sake, I don't know.
I think for his confidence, that'd probably be the best thing.
Into a more natural position to him. I know he's predominantly was a winger down under, but so was Skids, by all accounts. Move him to centre. I think he's comfortable at centre. I think he can do a job for us at centre. I know, yes, we are light on numbers, but for his own sake and the team's sake as well, get him out of that fullback role. We've got other options. Litton's played there. He can slot in there for a couple more weeks if need be. Moy's there. There must be a reason why Moy's not getting played, but he has to be a better option than Raps at the minute. And I don't want to bag on him too much. I've done that enough this season. It's painful to watch him at the minute. And there's a ball going up in the air. I'm thinking, he's going to drop this. There was a spiral bomb went up from Sneed, and I was like, I don't feel comfortable with him under this.
I've got a question on this for you both. It had me reflecting on where you are as a team, not taking away from the injuries and the things you've gone through as a team, but I've praised Cartwright as a coach. I think he's quite good. Quite liked his attitude. I quite like his animation on the sideline. Starting to let you down a bit now. Like, you're making these same mistakes, people in the wrong positions, not just because the fans are calling for them, but amateur viewers of the game can see changes that can be made that would be for the better. And my worry for you now is that he's waiting until you get in or don't make the playoffs, and then all these changes will come in when it's too late, and it'll be it was always a building season, we're pleased to have finished 7th, and now we're going to try players in different positions, whereas the changes you could make right now that many people agree could be beneficial. Does that not worry you a bit about what he's doing?
I wouldn't say I'm worried. I'm not. No, I'm not worried.
You've just said there. Let me finish.
No,
So
not for that. Not for something else.
Okay. Well, my quick answer to that is no. I'm not worried. Like Dean alluded to a minute ago, there must be a reason why Moy's not getting in, and the only other option really, unless you want to, if we had some second rowers, you could turn around and say, actually, yeah, put Hardacre there, but we ain't got second rowers, so we're having to play Hardacre at second row, so that takes him out of the equation. Litton's having to fill in at centre because Hardacre and Chamberlain are playing at second row, so that takes him out of the equation. So, yeah,
Ultimately, we've got to trust. He's with the players every day, week in, week out. We have just got to trust his judgment on these things. We're allowed opinions,
well, if we didn't, we won't be doing this.
We won't be doing
so.
this. I didn't want to say that, but yeah, we just got to trust his judgment. Yeah.
Fair. My worry for Rapana, not necessarily for Hull with Rapana, but for Rapana, is that if he carries on like this for Hull at fullback, making these errors, missing these tackles, that guy's had a fantastic career. Do you want to be remembered for this at the end? And my answer, if I was him, would probably be no, because it looks like at the minute that he's just clinging on to something that he should have let go of. So
it's one of them you can just see that it'll come to a amicable but probably a little bit bittersweet ending where he'll leave at the end of the year and Castle pick him up or Wakefield pick him up and they'll play him in the right position. They won't have an injury crisis and he'll come back to haunt you next year. You'll be playing against them. It won't be a massive game, but he will, and he'll have the game of his life.
It feels
Do you
like
know what,
every
though?
ex-player comes back and
they
haunts
do.
us.
if we did let him go, I hope he does, because the career this kid's had, he deserves to go out on a better note than what he's going to go out
He
on
looks
at
like
the
a
minute.
really likeable person, a really likeable character.
Probably
But-
doing a whole lot for us off the field.
Yeah. So let's finish.
I
Try and finish
just want to say as well that is, I feel like we have been a little bit unfair because we didn't lose that game because of Rapana.
No.
So I don't want people to think that we're just blaming Rapana for the loss. We're not. It's just that after a lot of poor performances, a lot of errors, a lot of missed tackles from him in the games leading up to this one, it has to be mentioned.
I know you need to wrap up, but you was poor. There's no taking away from that, right? But do you know when a game's just not going your way?
It felt
Roderick
like that.
Ty's tackle to get Martin out in the corner. That's probably the first time this year Martin hasn't scored that try.
Yes. Yeah.
And that, at the time, should have just said to any
It
FC
was-
fan, we're done here.
With the break straight after half time where Briscoe, all they had to do was pick it up and then he'd have passed it outside to Barron. And we'd have gone 14-10 up, 14-12 up at that point. You could just, and the knock-ons from Knight and Barron early on.
Finish
Even
up,
in this
Dean.
little mini slump we're in, and I will call it a little mini slump because it feels, yeah, we've beat Salford, but poor performance against Cass, poor against Warrington, very mediocre against Salford previous week. The team's still sticking together. They know they're in a little bit of a rough patch, but no one's losing it, no one's blowing up off the pitch, and I feel that they are a really tight-knit group, and and I think they know to get through this, they have to stay like that, and it don't look like they're panicking. I think we will come through it. Players are going to be coming back soon, so hopefully they can hit the ground running, and I still think we're to see, and I will go out on a limb and say this, I still think we're to see the best of us yet this season. You can throw that back at me in a few months when I'm probably wrong, Josh.
I can't wait till the end of the season. And they throw
You were
that
saying
back
what,
at
Dean?
us.
Last win was away at Salford. You were saying what?
Anyway, let's move on to what's going on at Tribal this week. So we got an home game for FC this week. Hopefully a win, but we're coming up against Saints. That's Saturday at 3. Saturday the 5th at 3 p.m. I don't really think there's any reason why you're going to miss it unless you can't get a ticket or for whatever reason you're not going to the stadium. But if you're not, come here, watch it on the big screen. Sunday at 6, Rovers are at home as well to Leeds, but again, if you can't make it because the stadium's always so full, 3 p.m. kickoff. Come and watch it on the big screen. And just to go back a day, Friday, 4th of July, Tribal are having happy hour 12 until 6. Any house drink for just £3.50, double up for an extra £2. And then they're having a DJ on at 8 p.m. And don't forget to bring your season pass if you are a season pass holder, because you'll get 15% off if you've got a food and drink bill. And now we will go to the news. What's the news, Josh?
What's the news?
You've got 10-15 minutes, but I think because of how much she's whinging, you're probably going to just do the 10.
Okay, we'll just fire through.
Yeah, okay. 20 minutes, here we go.
First news for today then. We have London Broncos rebrand. So if you'd seen the news this week on that, what had happened is that it was announced that the rebrand had happened and that London were now called the London Hounds, and it was a done deal, and that was the end of it. And then London Broncos immediately came back out within 24 hours to say, no rebrand has happened, we are still in discussions, we're getting a lot of feedback from fans, community, and the community, I think they said as well, and we will keep you in touch.
What community is that? Because they haven't really set foundations in one place for long enough to be part of a community, have they?
No. The biggest thing I read on this as well was that somebody said they really should be the Bulldogs. The Bulldog is quite a British thing. It's the British Bulldog. They're based in the capital, but we already have, Bulldog as a team. And they was talking about, well, can you be different teams? Batley Bulldogs, Jimmy?
I had to think about that then, yeah. I was thinking, I was like, do we?
Should have explained that a bit more detail. It led to quite a nice conversation I read, I believe it was on Reddit, where people were talking about what names they like and don't like. And there was a number of Leeds fans who said they feel no affinity to the Rhinos name, and they would happily be called Leeds Rugby Football Club or whatever, that they don't feel like they like it whatsoever. And it got me thinking that Rovers do feel quite a lot of love for the Robin. It is very much us, we are the Robins, and we sort of live behind that. And I feel like you guys as the Early Birds really do, and there's a good rivalry with the two birds. And, I didn't feel like that. But there was a few fans, especially Leeds, saying they wasn't bothered about being the Rhinos.
I mean, I'll put my 2 pence worth in. I don't really give a toss about the early birds thing.
Well, you said 2 weeks ago you'd happily go back to the Sharks. Not trying to wind you up or banter on that. You did say...
I would, but I'm not necessarily saying I would feel any affinity to it. Like me, I'm a Hull FC fan. There don't need to be an animal in there. I'm not bothered. Like if as a kid growing up, my favourite one was the knight that we had. We randomly at some point had a knight in like shining armour kind of thing.
Don't disrespect the radiator that you've got on the sideline now. That is very disrespectful.
But no, my point is, I don't really care much for the early birds thing. I don't really care much for the Sharks thing. Like I couldn't care less as long as the team's wearing black and white and they're playing all right. Whatever.
Okay. Well, we'll wait and see what London come back with, but it does look like a rebrand is incoming.
He's going to want to put his fingerprints on it in his Everington.
I would have thought so.
Stamp his authority.
Next up, news out of Warrington, so should be quite well known by now, but George Williams is going back to Australia, leaving Wire.
Is he?
He is. The only reason why I think this is particularly notable, they're trying to drag a bit of a headline out of him, a journalist at the minute. I've seen a few, the post-match interview, I think they asked a question at the weekend. I've seen a few articles where a journalist have approached him. George, you said you was coming to Warrington to win something. He obviously hasn't won anything with them.
How many people have said that, though?
And it is true.
2 minutes.
And Warrington can't turn around and feel aggrieved, I don't think, at the end of this, that he's going back to us, because at the end of the day, that is what he came for. And Warrington have not been able to do it. And the way they're going right now, it doesn't look like a grand final or a League Leaders Shields on the card either, does it?
I think the other thing for me, probably the more confusing thing for me, is he came back from the NRL because he was homesick, as far as I'm aware. I mean, I might be wrong.
No, that's what was said at the time. I've read a few comments on that. I haven't fact checked that, but I've seen a lot of comments relating to that, so I do believe that's what was said at the time.
Is it the Dolphins as well?
Yeah, my understanding is it's the Dolphins. It's just going to be a swap.
There's going to be a player swap.
My new favourite team, by the way. Yeah.
So yeah, next one. Bad news for Wigan. So Bevan French is going to be out for around or up to 8 weeks with the calf injury, the one that he's been nursing for a couple of weeks or maybe a month or so now.
Back just in time for the playoffs then.
Back just in time for the playoffs. particularly significant, I feel, here. I read a Wigan's fans comment on this, which I thought was quite telling. They wasn't particularly worried about losing him. Obviously, there was concern, but they wasn't overly worried about the structure he gives the team and the way he manages and leads the team around the park. They was worried because they feel that without him in the team, Smith loses his head a bit more, and Smith gives away more penalties or makes more rash decisions. And then even went on to back this up with some stats that prove that in the games without French, he's more likely to concede more penalties or give yellow cards away.
Wow.
Which
So
was
just
very
someone's done his
insightful.
depth
Just
there.
don't really handle the pressure all that much then, or what? Just
Wigan fan on Facebook.
French-
Didn't fact check it myself.
French gives him a little massage every now and again when he looks angry on the pitch. What is
Don't
it
know.
like?
Just maybe helps him ease the pressure on.
So yeah, be interested to see how Wigan go though without him. And we've seen the last 3 results being very close, so massive blow for them.
To be fair, didn't French play against Wakefield? And they lost that one.
No, he came back for the Huddersfield game, didn't he?
No, he wasn't playing Huddersfield. He played against Wakey.
Oh yeah, he missed Huddersfield and he came back for the one after. Yeah.
One more before I get onto the big one then. So Steve McNamara sacked from Catalan. You're wondering why I'm telling you this a month on? Because Catalan have only announced it this week, so it has taken a calendar month to officially announce that Steve Mack has moved on.
I read this today on Instagram and I was like, what? I thought he got sacked ages ago.
It's almost like the owner, whose name I forget, so forgive me, has waited for Tompkins to get his first win in charge and said, yeah, that'll do.
What
The-
a win.
The
I
only,
love a win.
the only thing I can think of
Predicted
is if
it, didn't I?
maybe there's different laws and stuff in France as opposed to like employment law and trying to get rid of people or something. I don't know, but yeah.
I don't know. I also think the owner of Catalan's a bit of a maverick as well. Just does things his own way, always has. So. And then the final point. So, excuse me. I think this is a really important one to pick up now. We've touched on it a little bit earlier, but most people, I'm sure, particularly Rovers fans that are keeping a close eye on Wigan's performances recently, will have seen the incident on Thursday night between Castleford and Wigan, in which there was a penalty for holding back from Harry Smith on a Castleford player.
He didn't hold back.
And it went to the video ref, and the video ref checked it several times, said there was no clear contact, there was no holding back, and the penalty was overturned and the captain's challenge was successful. This not only caused immediate uproar, not only when Wigan went on to score with some Jaifield magic, not only 5 minutes later,
He's only fast.
he is only
That's
quick.
it.
He was fast then.
It has come into a little bit of disrepute as well, where Bentham, the head of the referees, for only the second time to my memory this year, the first one being the mistake in the Hull game with the foot in touch, Briscoe, that incident, has come out to apologise for the mistake and said it is wrong. What's up, Jimmy?
Bentham. It's not Bentham, is
Yes,
it?
it was. Yeah.
Bentham's the head of the referee
Head of the
association.
Head of the refs, yeah.
So,
Who's the one that went to the Premier League? I thought that one was Bentham.
Carry on, Josh.
I know.
I'm
Anyways,
still losing my head.
Obviously, doesn't help now. I've seen some Wigan fans being okay with this and accepting, they got away with one. These things happen in every game. I've seen some Wigan fans trying to argue it doesn't change the outcome of the game. I think that's absolute rubbish. We saw Mikey go off for a similar incident. I would say Mikey's was a bit worse, but it is 10 minutes for a professional foul, things like that. And if we can go down to 12 men, that changes the outlook of a game. It changes the attacking from the team that has 13 men. It changes the way the 12-man team need to defend. And it can completely change the way a team is. And most importantly in this scenario, I've just described how we think Harry Smith, when he's the only leader, struggles. What about when you take away your second leader then? What about when you're playing without French or Smith in the middle?
I'm not sure on a yellow card. I don't know. I think Mikey's was more the position on the field as well, because I don't know if that has an effect on the decision from the referees if you're preventing possible try scoring chance. I do think they get that penalty. They either kick it to touch or they go for 2, and then Wigan's mindset is flipped because they're then chasing the game. Because was it 20-all at the time, or it was
2018, I believe.
2018?
Might be 2016, and then they try drew. It doesn't matter, but yeah.
It don't matter, but still, it changes the mindset of Wigan, or it puts Cass a little bit further in front with a penalty goal. It was such a bad call when everyone watching it can see that it's wrong, but yet the video ref can't.
I know. And my final point on this to wrap up the news, just because I found this highly amusing, and I am going to actually give a shout out to my old fella. So this one goes out to my dad for this one, who likes to troll in the forums, I believe.
One of them.
Rugby League forums and things like that online. He did find a really funny comment from a Wigan fan who had commented back during a long thread of arguing back and forth over whether it was the right decision, and then it was updated when Bentham apologised and the outcome, and a Wigan fan had said, I did think this was brilliant, had said, well, given that the Moore brothers are from Wigan, do they count on our salary cap, or do we get dispensation because they're homegrown talent? Now, tell me that is not fantastic trolling and banter in one quick
against
swoop.
your own as well.
Doing it for your own team. So yeah, shout out to that Wigan fan is, because that is great banter.
I like that.
But that wraps up news from around the world today.
News from around the world. Straight into the listeners' lounge then.
Go on then, Shorby.
Have we got a bit of time, Susan? Yeah, we're all right.
Who cares?
We'll give him a mention, Pat O'Connor, because we've sort of already asked this question. Can KR keep up this sort of form for the remainder of the season? We have really sort of touched on that.
We'll see.
We'll see. I don't really want to get into this one, but it was the next on the list. Stephen Ashton and also Rob Jefferson asked this question. Would you pay off Rapana early in order to bring in someone fresh, or does he deserve to see out his contract? I think put him in his position.
Depends where he's going to play.
Yeah.
I know the plan is to play him at centre. The plan is for him to get the 4 shirt next year, is my understanding. And if he plays there, fair enough. But
he's shown a few times this season he can play well at centre. I think he had a good game, second game against you guys. I think he scored against you as well. There's a player there in centre. He's just getting so much heat at the minute because he's been played out of position.
He needs to sort his knee out as well. Like, my understanding is he's waiting for surgery on his knee, and he's like just not having it done. For me now, when we start getting players back, just go get your surgery, get back fully fit, get it sorted, get back next year, kick on.
I really like that comment. I think that you need to remember where you're expected to be and where you're probably going to be at the end of the year, which is that you're not building for this year, you're building for the next year, the year after. We've said that a million times on this pod. You sort of answered about Rapana in the discussion anyways, we all did when we discussed the FC game. I agree with your points. I wouldn't sell him off. I know there's a player in there, and he's shown flashes of it. He isn't letting Hull down, right? Hull as a collective are letting Hull down. In the instances in the games when we're letting them down, you play as a team. Yes, some of his big errors are standing out more.
It's because he's a bigger name.
But he's a big name.
Yeah.
So you don't get rid. Simple answer.
It would help if you want a quarter spot as well. I think
that shouldn't affect us next year anyway.
We'll see, because, yeah.
If the RFL can come out and make a decision on that, that'd be really helpful.
I've been
but
asked by Josh to ask this question, and it's from Mike Abel. In person, the question was asked. Full kit wanker, wrong or okay? Can you shed some light onto this, Josh, please?
So, and there's a little bit of a carry on. It's a shame Craig isn't here, because the buses that Craig goes on and often runs and helps out from Ravenshead to the away games, Mike Abel goes on, and there's a few of the lads and people in there that we know. Mike, I know him, play golf with him, good lad, but I see him often at Rovers, as you do in the East Stand, and he's a man who likes the Rovers kit, he likes the gear, but on Friday night at the Wakefield game, it was a particularly humid, warm night. The air was arid, it was warm,
Even at Craven Park?
Yeah. Even despite the wind, which was, we didn't mention it in the game review, but the wind was wild. Mike comes past me, which he usually does, and he was full kit on. There was like the Rovers shirt, the shorts, I'm not quite sure on the socks, but he had I think he had the bucket hat as well. He has these the all spill coloured sunglasses. There was a lot going on, Mike, wasn't there? You know there was. And I started giving him a bit of banter, and then, so did a few people with me, and it was good fun. And later on when I'd seen him, he said, I don't know what you were shouting at. I says, I was calling you a full kit wanker. And he gave me this excuse that he was going on holiday the following day, and all of his good Rovers clothes was packed, right? Not his good clothes, his good Rovers clothes was packed. And then he just texted me, obviously a few beers deep, it was probably even in the first half. I just checked my phone and he just said, question for that pod thing of yours, I think he said. Full kit wanker, yes or no? So that's where it comes from. I'll answer first for you guys, but I've said a few times, I don't buy a million kits, I don't buy a lot. I don't mind a pair of odd shorts or 1 or 2 shirts. For me, I don't care what you do, go and support your club. Personally, I ain't a full kit wanker.
No.
But kids, I think it's very
Yes,
acceptable.
I was going to say.
When it's an adult, one of the big things for me is there's no pockets, tends to bother me. But yeah, do what you want.
What did I buy last week?
Training shorts
I
with
bought
zip-up
some
pockets.
Now, training shorts are different.
Yes.
See
So
that-
I'll get onto this.
All right,
It's
you
all
go.
right. Kids, yes. If there's a young kid going and they've got the full kit, shorts, the full shebang, I love seeing that. They're fully invested. They love the club. Great. When you get to teenage years and like into your adulthood, then tone it down a little bit. You can't go out buying the full knee-length socks and short shorts, rugby shorts, and the full shirt with a name on the back. No, I'm sorry, you can't be doing that. And I think I've got
I think
printed
the-
on this one though.
Yeah, for me, it's if it's the plain shirt, plain shorts, plain socks. That's my understanding of full kit.
Yeah.
I don't think anything wrong with me going to the rugby in the plain shirt, which I always wear, and then if it's a pair of like training shorts
Well, that's what I had on
to go with it.
Saturday.
No, you didn't have a plain shirt on.
I had a
But like, if
smart
I went
LFC
with that
t-shirt.
on and a pair of training shirts and then just like ankle socks, like that's fine. I don't see an issue with that. But if it's like proper kit, like plain kit, shirt, shorts, socks, that's even shirt and shorts. That's bad.
I
just
wouldn't label
always-
him as a full kit wanker though, because for me it is.
No, I don't think he was full, but it's just part of the banter in it. And I think I sometimes look at people, in the full kit, and I think, do you think there's a chance you're going to get on?
You know what I'd love to see now? You know what I'd love to see? Because I know you play golf with Mike Abel. I would love to see pictures of him playing golf in full kit.
Let me just let you know that we play at a very prestigious club.
You play at Hornsey.
Yep. One of
There's
the
now
nicest clubs in the
prestigious
area.
about Hornsey. It's just an expensive version of Sutton.
Wow. On today's follow-up golf podcast where I beat Jimmy to death. No, yeah, let's move on.
Right, James Wilson, 2-part question. I'll ask them both together, then you can answer. Do Hull KR fans need to be more humble? And I find it cringe. We've sort of dobbed on a player as well. I find it cringe when we single out players. The team wins together and loses together. Should we be getting behind each player rather
already
than
read this
single
one out.
them out? Have you?
Yeah.
To keep the confidence high.
Because we've done that one.
Just the Rovers part then. Do Hull KR fans need to be more humble?
Yes.
So,
Some of.
yeah, it's a simple
Some
answer. Obviously, there will be some that need to. Just like there's some Hull fans that need to pipe down. Just like these Wigan fans that need to pipe down. The worst, when I said the other day when I knew this question was incoming, the quick answer is stay off social media. That's where 99% of this problem is. I'm not saying there isn't fans in person that need to be more humble, but the majority of this is social media. The majority of this is absolute bullshit online. What I would
Keyboard
say,
warriors.
yeah, of course they are. What I would say on this is, it's nice to celebrate when you're doing well, and it's nice when you're doing things historic, like winning trophies you haven't done for a long time, for 40 years. I've said many times on here, I dislike that you've seen the Rovers now F off home chant. It feels a little bit better to do it now when the crowd do it, because we have won something. But I kept saying, until we win something, let's not be cocky. I mean, there are, in every single sports club, not even clubs, even when you're a fan of an individual boxer or an MMA fighter or a golfer, I think there are fans that are absolute idiots that need to be more humble across the world. But if you stay off social media, or if you read the comments on social media like I like to, and go on the banter pages on Facebook, take them with a pinch of salt, laugh at the banter, and don't actually let them affect you day to day, you'll be 100% happier in life. Yes, there are
Or just don't have social media.
or don't have it.
Yeah.
So yeah, some need to be just like, you've still got some FC fans who still think that they're a better club than us and still think that Price is a better player than Mikey Lewis. There's going to always be comments that are going to wind people up and get people going. Ignore them, crack on, live your life.
You've got the better team. We're the bigger club.
I think
my
that
view on it.
the other thing is...
See, that right there, I could take with an absolute smirk and go, whatever
Well, you said
mean-
to you after the derby the other week, you went prove with we're firmly now biggest club, and I took it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
I
What
don't
you've
believe
said-
it, but
What you've
you
just
said
said
that
there-
online, and it's
Yeah.
bang.
Now, we could argue for another 20 minutes on here why you think you're the bigger
Don't
club,
worry.
right?
He's
And
having palpitations.
We'd go on for ages. Yeah, I just keep going. You can't be a big club if you don't own your ground. we don't want to run our own ground. You can't be a big club when you're 7th or 6th in the league or whatever. A big club's at top of the league, it's won a trophy shit, and it wouldn't stop. And this is what social media does every day, back and forth, right? That, it can be good-natured, but the moment it really irks you, the moment you're actually like, hang on, no, you're deluded, you don't know, that's when you've lost it. And that's when, switch off the iPhone, get outside, get some fresh air.
Yeah, take the dog for a walk.
The way I look at it is when I look at a stupid comment on X or Facebook or whatever, and I look at that and think, you're being arrogant, I genuinely look at it and think, you don't actually believe that. You're just writing that because there's no consequence.
That's what it is. There's no consequences, is there?
There's, I think 99% of people that write that shit online, 99% of people that write that shit online, I don't actually believe what they're writing.
Agree.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry. How long? Got a bit more time? Yeah. So we get these last two in? Yeah, okay. We'll ask this one. Callum sent it in on X.
Go on, Callum.
Yeah, go on, Callum. And he sort of takes one of the names out of it because he wanted the train-on squad, which I was mightily surprised at. And Callum's gone on form. Should the 6 and 7 for the Ashes be Mikey and Connor? Now, Connor's not in the train-on squad, which on form he should be if we're picking on form. Would you agree?
Yeah.
But we'll ask the question to all of us: who do you think the 6 and 7 at the moment should be for England in the Ashes in the autumn?
Mikey at 6, Smith at 7.
I don't see. Yeah, you've asked who do we think rather than who do I think they'll do, so it's a different question.
You can throw that in as well.
I do think it will be Smith. I think Jake Connor's having one of the best seasons of his life. I think he is the lifeblood of that Leeds team at the minute. I know they was found out against Saints last week, but they bounced back so well this week. I'm going to talk about them in my preview section in a minute, but he hasn't delivered it at that level. I'm not saying Mikey has. I'm not saying Smith has to an extent, but Mikey has played and turned up. The way Mikey's playing at the minute...
Just say, Jake has played for England against New Zealand in America in 2019 or whatever it was, and he had a really, really good game. So he's had a taste of that scene. But it's been a while.
My point being is, it's been a while. Mikey's a little bit under the radar this year, as under radar as Mikey Lewis can be, right? Because
is that possible?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's still Mikey. He's still larger than life on the field, but incredibly quiet off it. But what he's doing is quietly putting together what will be, by the time it comes to it, probably a top 5 in the Man of Steel standings by the end of the year. He's leading the club. He's playing incredibly well. He's playing with a maturity that we spoke about all last year. We are top of the league. We've only lost one game. We've won a Challenge Cup, right? And the way he's playing, there is no better player in that position in the league. Now, Smith is proven that he can do it to a high level. Wigan are still only 2 defeats in. How can you not pick them two? Right, the argument being, where does Connor come in? On form at the minute is fantastic. But that form wasn't there last year, right? So he's only started doing it, and he's only started doing it in the past 10 games. He didn't do it for the opening 5 or 6. So when you're looking at form, are you thinking in form right now, just a couple of games, just a quarter or a half of the season so far? Or are you saying the last 18 months? If you do it that way, it's Mikey and Smith.
You've also got to try and put yourself in Wayne's head, and can I trust these players that they're going to be able to do it against the Aussies? So it's not just picking on form, which we'd like him to do, but he's got that in the back of his head. Will this player still be able to do it against the Aussies? Or do I go back to Williams, who I know could do it against the Aussies? Jake Connor might not be able. There is, for me, I agree with you. It's Mikey and Smith. For me, I still don't believe they're good enough to.
Wayne's got an idea in his head as to how he wants to play. Not necessarily who he wants to play, but how he wants to play. It all depends whether Mikey and Connor fit that way, that style of rugby. And from what we've seen from Wayne in the past, I don't think either of them will start. I would think it should be Mikey at 6, Smith at 7, but let's face it, Williams is going to play 6, and Smith is going to play 7.
Who's the captain and is Williams the captain?
Yeah, so let's put it another way then. I know we need to round up on it because you said we had a few minutes, but if I said to you, you can have Mikey or Jake, who would you want? Or Jake Connor?
Mikey.
To play 6?
Yeah, well, this is what there's a different point to that because yes, I know Jake is a 7, but they do move them around sometimes, and he could play 6. So if it was a case of we've locked down the 7 spot, it is Williams has gone, we're over him. It's Smith, right? You can have one of them two. Which one would you pick?
Mikey,
right? Then if you could say actually we've got only Mikey and Jake to play, so we're going to play them in a combination of 6 and 7. Is one of them mature enough to stand back and not look for every gap and not look to be explosive, not look to make the big plays? Because they can't both be hunting for it because then you lose some structure. And they both like that. Now, Jake has matured this year and he's playing more of a structured game in the half-back position. But he's still in it. He's still in him. He still likes to poke his nose through just like Mikey does. So like you say, it all feeds back to Wayne picking a game plan and players in positions, not who are the best players in each position.
It's a moot point anyway. Connor's not even in the squad.
Just a training squad, things can change.
Well, we'll see. Have I got time for one more, or shall we pass on that one? I'll tell you what, Gary Lee, ask us another one, and I'll throw the other 2 in.
Yeah,
next
stop
time.
asking questions about food.
No, ask another one, and I'll do all 3
Oh,
at once.
really?
3 food questions.
I wanted to answer the food ones. Please
just
send,
do it. Just
Gary,
do it.
No, Gary, send one in because we'll do them next week.
Yeah, we'll
commit.
do all 3 if you send another
3
one in
food
this week.
questions
But thanks
next
for
week.
your comments on YouTube as well.
I've got some
We
very
noticed.
strong opinions on them.
I have. I'm disgusted with all of you lot, put it that way. Right,
Oh, teaser.
FC Saints.
I'm not looking forward to it.
Well, first and foremost, we're hosting our annual Armed Forces Day fixture on Saturday. So,
Still think if you're going to do something like that, it should be a thing that the league do, and everyone should do it. I'm not saying it's bad that we're
He's
doing
right
it.
downbeat today. Isn't he?
No, I'm not looking forward to the day. I'm not looking forward to the game. I think as a country we celebrate armed forces half-heartedly anyway. What are we actually doing for it?
well, there will be a whole host of military-themed activities taking place inside and outside the ground, including an Armed Forces West Park fan zone.
Okay.
Right, you just put your mic down. Right. So
we come from an armed forces family.
if you
Don't cut me off. We come from an armed forces family, and I just think whenever FC have ever done anything armed forces related in the past, it's been half-hearted. As a country, we celebrate our armed forces half-heartedly. I think, let's not get too political, but I think it's the wrong time to be doing armed forces celebrations at the minute. Yeah, I'm not in for it at the minute.
Okay. Well, we have just celebrated Armed Forces Day on the weekend just gone, I believe. So,
Have we?
I have a different
That kind of
opinion.
proves your point, doesn't it? 'Cause I don't know if it was Armed Forces Week or Day or
Yeah.
whatever. And
I didn't have a clue.
your point being that the country, and we're not going to get political on this, should do more. I do support you on that, Jimmy. I don't support you constantly bashing FC. It's not on.
The club look like they're putting together a good event this weekend. So, if you're going down to the game, get down a bit early, go into West Park, see what they've got going on.
Yes.
Thank you.
Your players miss enough tackles. What people being in camo, you know. You want to watch out.
Hold on. Your guys missed 43 tackles this week. More than we missed against Warrington.
How'd that work out for you?
Knew that was coming
Point
back.
though. Wait
I
until you
knew-
play. Wait. I'm worried for when you play a team that are actually going to stick a performance together for a full 80. I mean, I'm not worried. I'm excited, but you should be worried. I think.
On to our game.
On to our game. Yeah. Not looking forward to it.
I'm worried.
Very worried.
Very worried.
The way that Saints are starting to step up at the minute, I don't see us breaking that duck of winning at home.
No. I said last week we needed to keep Wire under 3 scores because I couldn't see us scoring more than 3. We didn't. We scored 2. Again, this week I struggled to see where our points tries are coming from. I'd be very surprised if we put out a similar team to what we've been putting out, us getting into double figures, points-wise. And for as poor as I think Saints are, because I do think they're a shadow of themselves, I still think the papering over cracks at the minute. They've had a lucky run with fixtures when things have been going tough. They've had a few bad things. Apart from the Leeds result, that's gone well for them. But things were going down, and then they ended up playing like Salford, Catalan and Huddersfield straight after, so it was easy for them to cover over them cracks. I still think they're going to have a relatively comfortable afternoon against us on Saturday.
My biggest fear for you, the Leeds game. Leeds were in this fine run of form and playing really well. They kind of decimated them a little bit, kind of unexpectedly. The game plan was very astute. It was fantastic. If we didn't know that Wellings was already safe, because that's what they've said all along, that saved his job. But it was done because he coached them to perfection in shutting down Jake Connor and absolutely smothering Leeds. You've only got Caesar, really. And as long as they do that to you, I'd be worried as well.
If we can't pick up some speed around the ruck and distribution to our halfbacks, mainly Caesar, he's just going to get pinpointed again in with the ball in hand, and teams are just going to smother him, and we're going to then struggle to break anyone down, let alone St Helens. So yeah, we've been through the team, what options we've got. We'll see who's back later on in the week. Hopefully there is a few bodies back. Made a whisper off somebody that Cartwright might be back. How true that is, I don't know.
That was me. The
That was
whisper
Josh.
was me. I spoke to Cartwright last week.
So, but we'll see. Yeah, I am worried though. I don't think we're going to break that home duck.
I don't either.
No, I don't. Strange things have happened. You guys at home to Leeds?
Yeah, so we play Leeds on Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. Going to be a little bit cooler. Temperature's meant to be dropping after, I think tomorrow's the next really warm day, so hopefully it cools down a bit. Also, current forecast, obviously it's Monday, we're 6 days away, but there is a bit of a forecast of the chance of rain, so that could play potential, but shouldn't be the scorchio heat wave that we're in right now, which should help all players really. Obviously if it hammers it down, could play into the game a bit, but we'll wait and see. As confident as we've been going into most games, I think we've got to not discredit Leeds or take anything away from them. They're currently third in the league. They've shot right up. They're playing well. They've got 6 players that have just been named in the England training squad. So, that's a good haul. That's more than Rovers have got him.
Gone about the business quietly, I think, haven't they? They've
built
up there, built up. The Saints result was a surprise. I think we've said that numerous times, but I think you're in for a real arm wrestle at times on Sunday. I think it could be an entertaining game.
Yeah, I do too. Look, this isn't actually my comment. I took this online, but it reflects exactly what I would say. Yeah, they can attack, but can they defend? Because they didn't at the weekend.
No, they didn't, did they?
Right? So they can attack. What can Rovers do? Defend better than anyone in the league right now. Right? What else can we do? We can attack. What have Leeds just shown last weekend that they can't do? Defend. Right? Against, all right, a decent attacking team, but not Rovers. To not be too arrogant about it. What was attacking them at the weekend in that game was not the Rovers that we've got right now. So, yeah, obviously you've got to go in the right mindset. We always trust in Peters, but I'm pretty confident. There's only 2 things for me to note. Number one is, got to watch out for Jake the Snake. He is a poor man's Mikey Lewis, and the way he's playing this year he's nearly up there as good as Mikey's Man of Steel last year. Jake Connor always had potential to be very, very good, but he just couldn't get the niggliness out of his game, and he couldn't get the erraticness out of his game. He seems to have got rid of it now, for the most part. We don't want to be drawn into that and give stupid penalties away. Mikey's showing a much more mature head this year in most scenarios, so we don't want him to get dragged into that, and I don't think we will. And then the big question, one that's come out today, we've had Reece Martin return in what was a strong performance for us last week. Looked like he was up to speed, up to full fitness, made some great runs, some great defending. We took the responsibility of the kicking off him, didn't expect him to pick that back up. Morg's still one of the best kickers in the league, so we didn't have to worry about that. Reece Martin has been cited for other contradictory behaviour, which
Is it really that video you sent?
It generally is the video that I shared. So if anyone's seen it, it's going around. He touches an injured player. It's completely accidental. He's made a tackle. Some fans, and online keyboard warriors are claiming that Truman is trying to fake a head injury because he does then get up and play the ball. I genuinely think he just got caught in a bit of a tough tackle and it maybe winded him a bit. But what happens is Martin is set as the fair square marker if you haven't seen it. He's looking forward to scan the player, what's going next, and he does a little grab. Or if you're not listening, if you're listening, not watching, if you're watching, you can see, but it's a small grab at the shirt. Probably a manoeuvre he does to most players, like go on, get up, play the ball, I'm ready. There's nothing in it, but because of the way it's cited, what happens, he has to go to the tribunal, he has to go to the disciplinary board and plead his case. My only worry with this is twofold. Number one, well, actually, it's threefold. Number one,
So it's not your only worry then.
yeah, I've got my
Your
only
three
worry
worries.
is threefold. I've got 3 worries rolled up into one. If he doesn't come back, we're not light there, but we obviously have Batcher out, so it's another shuffle for us. And it's good to have him back in and getting minutes, so we don't want it to happen. The second one is we've seen the inconsistency of the refereeing and the rules this year. You know, we've already brought up several today, but we've brought them up every week. There was another one in the Rovers game that I didn't mention very briefly, but the same thing that Mikey got done
Fourfold.
for Mikey got done for last week. Corey Hall did against us on Friday night, chasing after the player and spraying him, walking 5-6 metres, and nothing's happening. So we know how inconsistent they can be. So we need to worry about that. The main one being Skid got done for this 2 years ago. Skid touched a down injured player and got a 4-game ban for it, despite there being nothing in it. Despite the fact that what Skid did at the time was looking to make sure the player was okay. So I'm not saying anything until this actually gets in front of the board.
But that's what happened in the grand final, isn't it? Someone did that to Nsemba. I'm pretty sure Nsemba went down and they put their hand on him to just check that it was all right, and that got
Yeah, who touched
pushed
him? I
out.
struggle to remember who it was
He
now.
got
they got cited.
Did Batcher get cited?
maybe someone got cited, but he got turned away at the
He got
tribunal.
cited quite rightly based on the rules. I'm not saying based on the level of contact, but based on the rules, you have to cite him for it. And quite rightly afterwards, the match review panel it's not the match review panel, is it? It's the tribunal. So it's not the RFL that are going to make the decision. It's the independent tribunal that will do it. Quite rightly looked at that and saw sense and said, no ban, no points. And that's probably not going to happen in this instance because what Martin did was disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting.
You admitted it yourself.
Yeah. So there's no in it, but we'll see. But it'll be really good to see him come back. 'Cause it looks like the injuries recovered from play against his old club. Obviously, it's been a bit of a sad season for him, really. Got a couple of games at the start, and he's been out injured since. Would love to see what he can do tearing up against Leeds and maybe have like a bit of a statement game. But we'll see.
Did he miss that first game against Leeds earlier on in the season?
Yeah, because we didn't play them till maybe round 6 or 7,
Okay.
and he was gone
Was it-
from
he
like
was
round
already
2
got
or
injured
3.
against Salford, didn't he?
Was it? Okay.
You got 2 big injuries against Salford, didn't you? Maybe I go watch you more often. Your players all go down.
We know you're a Rovers fan. Don't make excuses. If you want to come, you can come, my
It's
friend.
still coming
And-
black and white though.
What did we say? There was a comment on YouTube this week, or John can come in and replace Josh or something. Is that what was
It
said?
said John was really good. I'd like him to come on as a regular or to replace on the panel, preferably Josh.
Yeah.
Winky face.
So, and I was thinking, well, how's that going to work? Like 3 against 1. I thought, no, James can go to Josh's seat and John can sit where James sits.
If I
Jimmy
don't
sits.
get paid my signing on fee soon, I will be leaving.
Right, shall we?
We need more friends of the pod. Can't afford your signing on fee.
predictions.
Hint, hint. Have you got Craig's predictions?
Yes.
I've got Craig's here. Dean will read, and I'll throw Craig's in.
Okay.
So we are Thursday night. Cass at home to Huddersfield. What's Craig gone for? Shall we keep it as
Okay.
routine as we normally do?
Craig has gone for Castleford by 10.
Ooh.
I have gone for Castleford by 16.
I've gone Cass by 4,
Gone cast by 12.
and Susan has gone Cass by 8. Friday, the bus stop derby, Lee versus Wigan. Craig.
Craig has gone Lee by 8.
Ooh.
I've gone Lee by 4. I'm hoping that this is that one step too far for Wigan. They've been so close in the last 3 victories, and they've now obviously announced that French ain't going to return. Lee have got a lot of attacking flair. I could be completely wrong, but we're going to have to travel to Lee as well, so it's on the road. Just hoping.
It is literally a couple of bus stops, mate. It's not far at all.
It's like a 5 minute.
Wow.
2 minute walk to the bus stop.
I get it. You're a Wigan fan. Get over it.
I can give a shit.
Yeah. But yeah, that's why I've gone Lee by 4 anyways.
I've gone Wigan by 7.
I've gone Wigan by 4.
Susan, Wigan by 6. So on Friday night again, it's sort of a little derby this. Salford versus Wyre.
Yeah, Craig has gone for Warrington by 18. I've gone a bit bigger than that. I fancy Wyre by 28.
I've gone even bigger than that. Wyre by 36.
I'm going for my standard versus Salford prediction, and it's Warrington by 40.
Thought that was coming. Susan's just below 38. Wire. Saturday then. Our good selves welcome St Helens.
Craig fancies Saints by 14. I've gone for Saints by 18.
I'm the same as you. Saints by 18.
Same as Craig. Saints by 14.
And Susan's the same as you and Craig by 14.
Oh, very close.
Saturday, Wakey versus Catalans.
This is
Craig
hard.
has got it is hard. Craig has gone for Wakefield by 13, and I've gone for Wakefield by 14.
I've gone Wakey by 10.
I think purely because this is at home, I've gone Wakey, but only by 4.
Be interested to see if Catalans have turned that corner. I don't think it really turned that corner. It won just a one-off last week.
I think they played a weak Huddersfield team again that are struggling with consistency, and Jimmy's point was what kind of led me to make the decision as well. Wakey at home.
Yeah, 2 big performances from Huddersfield the previous 2 weeks. Wigan at home, narrowly losing, and they beat Warrington, didn't they? So maybe it caught up with them a little bit, and Susan's gone Wakey by 14. And rounding up the weekend, yourselves, welcome Leeds.
Yeah, Craig fancies Rovers by 14. I'm a little bit more than that. I fancy Rovers by 16.
I'm a little bit less than that. I've gone Rovers by 8.
Gone Rovers by 10.
So Susan, there we go. Tell your man, predictions don't take that long.
When Craig's not here.
Yeah, but he's writing them down as he's going along. He's going to have to watch this and go through all
Honestly,
of them.
you did a good job. I was disappointed though. You didn't really give me enough detail on the stadiums. That's what I wanted.
I can't remember the names.
I know. That's why I was laughing with Craig, because none of us remember the real names of the stadiums.
Well, so where are we playing? We're playing at Weldon
We're playing
Road.
at the MKM Stadium.
Yeah, he's going to click stop.
Weldon Road, Hilton Park, the Willows, the Circle, Bellevue, and Preston Road.
You see, you're just naming places in Hull.
Right. Is that it? We done?
We're done.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thanks again to CommScaf for sponsoring and for Tribal for opening up, letting us in, and turning the aircon on as well.
I did that.
Did you?
Yeah, because it wasn't on.
It was Dean. Dean did
Shocking.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Shocking.
Pearson's electricity bill's gone through the roof.
Hey, should have loads of spare money now we sold the club.
Oh, we're not getting into that. See you, bye.
See you, bye.
See you, bye.